Hello, Raise Jake Stenziano, host Jake Gino Podcast here with my co-host, the multifamily mentor, the coach, chef, father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barbo. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
Always making it happen, big man. All right, here's the professional part. Today's guest was a struggling real estate agent until he found his niche? I don't know. Selling foreclosures. Now, he is the owner and managing broker of Blue Steel Real Estate. I'm going to find out here in a little bit if that came from Adam Sandler and Blue Steel in one of my favorite movies. Now runs one of the top real estate blogs and owns commercial and residential rentals and a few small businesses. So without further ado, Mr. Blue Steel himself, Mark Ferguson, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Love to be on. And that's sorry, I don't want to start off on a
Zoolander reference, right?
Zoolander and Ben Stiller, yes.
What, did I mess that up?
You said Adam Sandler.
Oh,
That's
man, I was
okay.
thinking Ben Stiller, yes. Blue Steel. That is a Blue Steel reference, though, sorry?
Yeah, a little bit, and my cars and stuff. So I love the color blue, so it all just worked together. So
Can you do a Blue Steel for us right now?
I mean, I could.
Ridiculously
It's
good.
been a while since I've done it.
That's pretty good. So unpacking the bio, it's been, I don't know if we spoke to you for like 8 or 10 years or something. It's been a minute. The rentals versus the brokerage. What's the the passion driver for you out of the two of them? Like where's your heart at?
Definitely the rentals and the investing side, or even the flips, because we still do a lot of flips.
Yeah.
The brokerage, honestly, was for me to have control, be able to not worry about another broker telling me what I can and can't do. And I also, bought a big building and put my brokerage inside of it, which made sense as well. So
You feel good about that.
yeah, it's a very small. I have 4 agents in my office, and all of them are investors too. So we're not out there selling houses and doing open houses or anything like that.
Nice. So Gino's going to say I just jumped too far in and I snowplow. So tell us a little bit about the evolution of the brokerage and the sweetheart story, and then we'll let Gino ask a few questions.
I mean, so I got started back in 2003, I think. My dad was an agent. I got a degree in business finance. I thought, hey, I can go get a job and make tons of money. And for some reason, that didn't happen, as with no experience in my first job. So I thought I'll go back home, save some money. I actually became an on-site manager at an apartment building to save some money, and then joined my dad for I'll just join him for a year or two. That turned into, a little while longer. But I realized, my friends in the corporate world were working, not making any money, pretty unhappy. And I had my own schedule. I could pretty much do what I want and had control of my life. So I got licensed. And like I said, for a while I struggled, but I really got into foreclosures, got out of my comfort zone, started just cold calling banks, figuring out how to do that. Cause that was more of a, I'm not out there showing houses all the time. I'm not dealing with a lot of emotional buyers and sellers and different things. I'm dealing with banks. I have this work I do and just get the work done, and it works out great. So from that point, I'm like, okay, I'm making decent money, but I don't have anything to show for it. I'm just pretty much spending all the money I have, and I wanted to invest my money. And that's when I really delved into the best investments, and rentals kept popping up. And it took a while, but I bought my first rental in 2010, refinanced my personal house that I bought as a foreclosure to get that money, and then just kind of snowballed it from there and bought 16 rental properties from 2010 to 2015. Obviously, it's a good time, but people were also telling me I was an idiot for buying rentals back then because the housing market had just crashed. So, and then in 2016, prices got too expensive, although now not nearly as expensive. And so I looked at different places to invest. I looked at Florida, and then I found commercial, and I figured out, hey, I can buy a commercial property for $100,000 here, as opposed to a house for $350,000. And then I started buying a little bit more multifamily and just switched everything over kind of from the single family to multifamily commercial, started doing bigger deals. And along the way, started my own real estate brokerage when I bought one of those commercial deals. And now I've kind of gotten into businesses as well with a couple laundromats and liquor store, mini mart, stuff like that, because that really builds more cash flow than the real estate. And I'm just constantly evolving and looking for new stuff. And part of that's probably because I've got ADHD and can't sit still, but it works out for me.
Well, you might as well fill your strip malls with liquor stores and laundromats, right? People are going to need those businesses going forward. So,
right.
So the first thing you mentioned was like your buddies in corporate, and What try to like explain this for folks, because when shit goes wrong, it's 100% on your shoulders as the business owner. But you never got to do that corporate BS rat race and have somebody, looking over your shoulder with idiotic, suggestions that you may not even like come close to agreeing with. So like there's this trade-off, and I think it's a personality type
Yeah,
where it
for
makes
sure.
sense. And maybe just unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, met my best friend in college at CU Boulder, and he went into the corporate world, getting some great jobs. And what he found was, like a lot of people say, people kept getting laid off, and they just kept giving him their jobs, and without really giving him a raise. It's just more and more work, more and more responsibility. And we talked for a while about it, and he quit and came and worked for me. And he's been working for me for the last 11 years. But he's not like my employee. He got licensed, became an agent. He's an investor too. He's got his own little kind of crypto business and different stuff he does as well. But it is definitely an attitude. There's a lot of people who can't, I wouldn't say can't, but running a business seems awful to them. It's like the worst thing in the world.
Well,
They
it's
don't want
hard.
that yeah. Oh, it is. And they want someone else to tell them what to do, and that's fine. Where there's other people who hate it when people tell them what to do, and they kind of have to have their own business.
So much so that it's worth it to take all the pain and lumps when you're the backstop and the ultimate, decision maker, and all the responsibility falls on your shoulders, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Because
And I wouldn't have it any other way, but people
I
who
know.
think it's easy and, you make all this money, like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Mark, as you are an unemployable individual, we love those types
Yes.
types of guests on the show. When did your love for cars pop up? Because I love your Instagram. So if anybody listening to this, go to Mark's Ferguson's YouTube channel. I love his Instagram stuff. He puts a lot of cool stuff on there, Lamborghinis and Laundromats. When the love of cars come about? Because you've got some nice old vintage cars, and I've seen you post the cars, and then I've seen the value, and you're actually making money on these cars. When did that love come about?
Yeah. So I can pinpoint the exact time because my parents were not car people. It was actually my sister, who's 10 years older than me, and she's actually got some college rentals and different stuff. And when I was 5, I remember going to a bookstore, and she bought this car book. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the coolest car book in the world. Can I have it? Will you buy me one? And she's like, no, you can't have it. This is my book. And I'm like, I was so sad. And then for my birthday, she gave me that book. And I was like, and that book, I still have it. And it's literally got like 4 of the cars I have now in that book from 1986 or 7 in that range. And so just that one book was really what got me started. And actually, I didn't mention this. I've got Invest for More is my YouTube, Instagram for real estate. I just started Mark's House of Cars is all my car stuff. So I have a full dedicated YouTube and social media for cars now. But yeah, I've got, I bought a Countach recently, a Diablo I've had for 10 years, Aston Martin. I've got a Lotus Esprit, a couple Supras, and I've always bought cars that were older that I liked kind of when I was a kid. And I'm at that age now where a lot of people can afford those cars are getting older. And so those cars are going up in value. And especially the rare ones where, my Diablo's tripled in value in 10 years. So cars can be an investment. I mean, there's still maintenance. I don't plan to sell them, so it's hard for that investment to pay off. But it's helped with my marketing and brand recognition as well. And one thing people don't realize about the cars, and people think, oh, it's a stupid investment, you're wasting money. They motivated me like crazy, right? I had vision boards and pictures of cars and dreaming of cars. And I'm like, what can I do to afford this? What do I need to do? How do I work harder? And those cars, I have no doubt, made me more successful before I bought them because I knew I had to work harder to get them.
What was the first car you bought?
The first ever car I bought when I was in high school was an 87 Supra non-turbo. The first kind of exotic car I bought was a 1986 Porsche 928. And then the first expensive car was the Diablo, a 99 Diablo Alpine Edition. So, but they're all fun cars.
That sounds like something from a Will Ferrell movie. El Diablo.
Yes.
So, Mark, what was the conversation with the wife? Did the wife give you a little bit of grief and say, Mark, you're killing me here. We need a little bit more cushion in the bank. You're taking risk with all these cars. Or, you know what? Hey, honey, this is what I love to do, and I'm going to make it happen.
It was a little bit of both. So, I mean, she sees how hard I work, the investments, the different stuff. And when I bought my first car, I only paid $6,000 for the Porsche. So it wasn't like I was going crazy. And that car's gone up too. She's just like, make sure, you're maintaining it, you're taking care of it. If we're having an extra car, you've got to drive it and not just let it sit there. So that was the main thing. But then when it got to the expensive cars, we had a little longer talk about why I was buying it. I talked about the investment value because back then I'm like, these are going to go up. Like they're too cheap. There's no way they're going to stay this price. So once we talked about it and she understood, she's on board and cool with it. And she's been cool with it since then. But she's still like, hey, if we ever get in trouble or have issues, you're selling the car, right? And I'm like,
yeah, but your response
maybe.
was, Gino, he definitely said to her, sweetheart, the Red Dragon ain't exactly street legal. And then he promises it for maybe a little time at Bed Bath & Beyond and Home Depot Day. So it's a balance, right? That's where this goes. Now, is there a car lot? Do you own the space for that? Now, is there a commercial space coming behind this or not yet?
I always wanted one, but then when I looked into it, to get your dealer's license, you've got to know a dealer. You've got to almost be like I forget what the word is, but work with them for a little bit. It's a lot.
It sounds like the same thing in real estate.
Kind of, yeah.
You can do this, man.
I could, but what I ended up doing is I built a garage in my office, so I've got enough garage space for everything right now. But and my big problem is I don't ever want to sell anything, and that doesn't work.
Sounds like us with apartments,
right?
So, Mark, you're in the rental space, and what I love about your story is that you didn't fall into the fallacy that you got to go big or go home. Please just tell the listeners it's okay to buy a 7-unit and to buy a 10-unit, and you don't have to go out there and buy a 150 or 300 unit property. If you buy right and you buy and you intend to hold and you buy with value.
Yeah, no, 100%. I say that a lot on my stuff too. There's some people out there who are like, you can only buy a 32 unit. That's the minimum. It's got to be bigger. And I'm like, maybe that works for some people if they've got the right partners, like you guys, or they've got the setup. But for most people, it could take them years and years and years to ever get to that point. And that whole time they could have bought a smaller unit. Even if it wasn't the best deal, they learned, they had experience, they figured out how it all works. And a lot of banks, a lot of other investors even want to see people who are buying their properties, getting loans, have some kind of experience, right? If you're brand new and you're starting out in the game, it's going to be tough. But those smaller deals are a lot easier to get than the bigger ones. Even if you're starting out with houses and duplexes, that's how I started out, and it worked out fantastic. There's pros and cons to both, right? The houses are usually easier to rent, longer term tenants, less maintenance, easier to sell, if you ever, want to sell them. But, a lot of times you make less money on them cash flow wise. So yeah, the small deals can be amazing. And some people stay with small deals their whole life and love them. Other people want to move bigger. There's so many different ways to do it. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone says, this is the way you do it. It's the only way you can do it. You have to do exactly this.
No two businesses are the same. And at the end of the day, if you're doing this, you're a business. So
yep, exactly.
Mark, what I love about your model is we teach the conveyor belt theory, and it's basically buying assets, putting them on this imaginary conveyor belt. And within the next 3 to 5 years, you either exit or you sell or refi, pull the capital out. And you have multiple conveyor belts going on because you have your single family homes, you have your small multifamilies, you have your fix and flip business. Now you have your businesses. And I mean, if you did sell cars, you'd have cars on there as well, but that's not getting flipped. When you got into the fix and flip and you're still doing it, just talk about that business. I mean, if anybody thinking about doing it, because it looks great, HDTV is sexy, and give us some of the pros, but some of the cons also in that business as well.
Yeah, no, it's tough. Just like we talked about other businesses, it is definitely not easy. I think, I used to have my podcast a long time ago, and kudos to you guys for still doing it because it's a lot of work to put these together and do the interviews and find guests. But, a lot of the people I talked to who flipped houses, they lost money on their first flip, or they lost a lot of money because they saw HGTV. It's like, oh, you just fix it up real nice and then you sell it for a bunch. And then it's like, yeah, you just lost $50,000. You spent $100,000 on the remodel when you probably could have spent 40. And now we're talking, 5 years ago prices because everything's gotten crazy expensive. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges. It's tough to find deals right now just because we keep hearing about the low inventory problem, and that goes for investment properties as well, especially house flips. Right now, prices on materials and labor is skyrocketed, so that makes it tougher. So all our margins just have to get bigger and bigger and bigger, which means you're paying less and less for houses, and that makes them harder to find. But it's still a lot of fun. I still love seeing houses be transformed.
Yes.
That's a lot of what I do on my YouTube channel, is showing that process. And you're also providing nice houses for people, which makes you feel good, because you're taking a house most people can't buy or don't want to buy, and you're making a house people would love to live in. So there's a lot of background costs that shows don't tell you about. If you're financing deals, insurance, taxes, utilities, you're paying the whole time you own it, plus the labor, materials, all of that. So really the most important thing if you're going to flip houses is studying the numbers and figuring out what your profit margin needs to be, because most people just grossly underestimate that spread that you have to make money.
And once again, go to Mark's Instagram and YouTube, because I love the content that he's putting out there. And Lamborghinis to laundromats. What was the epiphany of getting into those businesses? And I agree with you; they can be really cash flowing businesses. So you have your flips that are making chunks of equity. You have your cash flowing businesses here that are giving you money every month to pay off your monthly expenses, and then you have your single family homes and multifamily, which is creating wealth. So that is to me the beautiful diversification that I see in your portfolio and in your plan. But what made you want to get into those businesses? The liquor store, really liquor store. Right. I mean, think about it. It's crazy. Laundromats, liquor stores, flipping. What made you get into those businesses?
Well, for some reason, I always wanted a brick and mortar business. I don't know what it was. It was just like an inkling that I just wanted an actual business, not just, a real estate portfolio. And so I'd been looking for a while, hadn't found anything. And then in a small town real close to me, a building came up for sale. And that building included a small mini mart and liquor store in the sale price. So it wasn't separated. It was just all one big chunk. There's like $600,000 for a 100-year-old bank building. On the main floor was a liquor store and mini mart. Upstairs were 3 apartments. And I was like, oh, this is like the perfect property. And it actually had been for sale for a while, but it was pretty expensive. They kept lowering the price. And I'm like, okay, I need to go for this. And it went under contract. I was like, crap. And then it fell apart and I ended up getting it and buying it. But I had no idea what I was doing. I never even thought about buying a liquor store before, but the opportunity came up. And once I got into it, I'm a big numbers guy, and just seeing the inventories, the prices, the margins and different stuff just clicks with me. And I loved getting in there, trying to, tweak things, analyze things, increase sales. And once I did that, I'm like, this is so much fun. And then you put a manager in place, and hopefully, you don't do much work on it and it still makes you money. And that's where the liquor store is right now. It's making probably $10,000 to $12,000 a month. I might go there once a month, if that. And
just to pick up your Jim Beam, though.
Right. Yeah. And so I like margaritas more, but yeah, that's good. And so the apartments are upstairs, bringing in rent as well. And then I separated the business from the building, gave it its own LLC, or maybe we did S Corp. I'm not sure.
Is there 2 stores downstairs? Is there a little mini mart and then a liquor store, or is it all in one space?
It's weird because in Colorado, you got to have some separation between the two. Uh-huh. So there's a wall in the middle, and one side's liquor store and one
half wall, or is it a full wall?
It's like a 3/4 wall.
Yeah. You can kind of see what's going on over there, but yeah.
Yeah. And it's one counter. So one counter for both sides. So you only need one person working at a time to handle both sides.
Gotcha.
But technically they're 2 different stores because of liquor laws. So
do you have a like general manager for that, and then employees, and you're overseeing the general manager? Is that the structure?
Pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But that manager also is kind of funny, is the mayor of the town, and works at the store as well. But they did a little news story on the store and her a few weeks ago, because they're doing geothermal heating in like some oil wells up there. That's kind of strange. But yeah, so it's worked out well, but it took some time. It's not
Colorado's
easy.
Corrupt, huh? Got the mayor working at the liquor store, working on some energy deals on the side.
Right.
What's that comp plan look like, Mark?
I can't
just mess with you.
No, I want to get back to the laundromat. Like, there's a laundromat in this building as well.
No, this is a separate one.
Oh, okay.
So after I bought that and got that all set up, then I just love, well, it started from my multifamily properties. I had a few with coin-op washers and dryers in them. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then I started collecting quarters from them. And I'm like, I love quarters. I don't know why. I just love the idea of quarters. And so I'm like, maybe I need to start a laundromat, because I started watching like Brandon with Investment Joy and different laundromat channels. And I got hooked on watching those. And so I'm like, well, I need to do this myself. And so I bought a real tiny laundromat and car wash that had an apartment and shop with it too. And I just posted a video on that and how it's been a pretty awful investment. But it got me started learning the business. And then I got another larger laundromat, and that's been really fun. And so not only does that making money every month, but I have fun going there and collecting quarters and doing counts and doing videos and it all.
Why not credit card?
For the machines?
Yeah.
Great question. I get that all the time. One, it's very expensive to set up. So if I wanted to switch over to credit cards on an existing laundromat, it'd probably cost me $10,000 to $30,000 to implement that in all the machines.
So let's just back up just a second. So we just bought our own machines and put in the card
At one property,
readers, right? Yeah, at one property we did it. We're trying to roll it out, but ours. So everyone gets a card, and there's only one point where they add money onto the card, right? So it's not a machine for each washing machine. But I guess in a laundromat scenario, that's a little bit more challenging, to do that. So that's the complexity there. Is that why?
Right, because each machine's got to be able to convert from coins to reading those cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got 40 some machines that would each have to be converted. And then you've got credit card fees on top of it. One of the things you learn with a laundromat is things break all the time. It just and even they'll break and they'll be fine. It's a weird thing. I swear there's ghosts in these laundromats, but that's another thing that can break too. So I totally get the card reader, that aspect from a new laundromat. If you're building it out,
I'm just like struggling with scale and theft, right? And so that's why that's what I'm trying to avoid by doing the credit card component. Yeah.
So no, and I can get that, but for ours, it's worked out fantastic, and people know to bring quarters. So we have a change machine, obviously, that can change cash out, and our sales have been going up every month. So at some point, maybe we'll look into that if we kind of plateau.
I'm not posturing saying what we're doing is right. I just I'm just loving to hear the difference in opinions and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that all the time. So.
Do you think it's different because we have a limited amount of people using our machines? We have 132 units there, where he has people coming off the street, and he has countless people. And
that's 100. Well, that's 100% because we have one machine that could be broken, right? Which is our one card machine, and then there's one that's the single point machine to access to put the money on it. So in Mark, if he has 80 machines, that's 80 points of contact that he could have an error, whereas is essentially one. Right. So,
and Mark, you said that very first deal was an awful deal. What mistakes did you make on the very first one, buying the laundromat?
I got real excited about it. So I told you I was like gung ho trying to find it. I actually got the deal from YouTube. Some of my YouTube viewers had relatives who were selling it, and so I paid $300,000 for it. That was too much. They didn't have any financials for me, which I figured it wasn't doing very good. It was pretty dilapidated. And the numbers, if you're looking at just from an investment standpoint, it would be really hard to ever make much money paying that price for it. So I paid too much for it, but I really wanted to get into the business, and it's very hard to find laundromats for sale. There's a ton of people who want them, and they rarely come up for sale. So I kind of jumped at it.
Are most of those coin operated still?
Yeah. Yep. They are. So, usually the only ones
do you think because they're old school and they don't count a lot of it towards taxes, and they're like the people, not you, but like the other people?
No, I think some of it maybe, some can, but it's just a pain to change everything over. So if you've got a brand new facility, totally makes sense to go to cards, do all that when you set it up.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of these machines you're paying $5,000 to $15,000 for one washer if you're buying brand new. So I mean, you're paying $500,000 to $1 million to build out a modest sized laundromat. So it's an expensive business unless you can buy existing stuff, and then it's pretty tricky to convert it all over. Some people do it. Some people will go that route, especially if say, hey, in 10 years I'm swapping out my machines. I'm buying all new. At that point, then yeah, let's do a card reader. Let's get them all set up from the beginning, and then we can go that route.
Word to the wise, Jake, I really want to make this point, because if you're thinking about stealing money in a laundromat, all the state has to come in and do is read how much water you're using, and they can calculate the water you use by the number of loads, and they got you how many cycles you're going through. So if you're thinking of doing that, just be careful.
I thought you were going to give tips on how to rob laundry machines, and I got excited for a second.
No, I did it first too.
I was like, oh, tell me, Gino, how are we going to get some money? And now he's going like an IRS route. Snoozer.
I'm saving you from going to jail.
I got like there was definitely a lead up there, and now I'm pretty let down right now.
I'm saving you from going to jail. That's even better. You know, don't you think that's better?
No.
Okay.
Well, I talk about on YouTube all the money I bring in, so I'm screwed already if I try to cheat at all. So it's all documented.
Oh, so one thing
you're out there telling people exactly.
Right.
I love that.
One thing we're looking to implement, because we're going to start scaling this out more. So we did it for 140 unit or something like that, and now we're going to start, taking out the companies that we use, right, and starting to implement this on a broader scale. And so what we're looking to do is also, we have 6 pools in our portfolio, so we're looking to get a tech that can manage the repairs on the laundries, manage the appliance repairs, and then service the pools. So we're looking to scale into that, and who knows, maybe it ends up being more in the future, whatever, depending on the size of the portfolio. In your laundry portfolio, how are you servicing these machines?
That's one of the biggest challenges in the business, because when I first bought one, I'm like, oh, I'll just call up these repair appliance guys, they'll come fix stuff. And what I realized was half the appliance guys listed are fake, like weird scams. It's a very strange thing that's going on with that.
Because they're coming in to steal your quarters.
Well, not to steal a quarter. They won't even show up. They want you to set up an appointment and pay a deposit, and they disappear. It's like some weird...
And then they steal your quarters because they know where you're at.
But and then I call the ones who are real, and like they're all retired. They don't, or they're like, we don't do laundromats. We just do warranty work for Whirlpool or something. And so I had to find specific laundromat repair guys from Denver, an hour away. And then they're charging me trip fees and $125 an hour. And it's crazy. I'm like, every time I bring these guys, I'm spending like $4,000. And so one of the main things you've got to learn as a laundromat person is either to fix the stuff yourself or have like a handyman, which is real estate. I've got guys, who work for us and do different maintenance stuff. So I'm like, hey, you're learning how to fix machines. Sorry. And a lot of stuff is really simple, easy to fix. Mm-hmm. Some of it gets more complicated, but you've got to learn to do some of it yourself or have someone who can. So I've got a guy, I'm like, hey, this machine's down, go check it out. He runs over there, looks at it, and he's doing other stuff for us at the same time. And that works out really well. But yeah.
Is he also changing carburetors on El Diablo?
I don't trust him to do that yet.
That's his baby. You know what I'm saying? You don't touch his baby. I got 2 questions before we go to the short answers. And I think for me, when you're buying these businesses, what metrics are you using? Is it cash on cash? Is it the ability to increase equity? Is it an exit strategy? What are you looking at, Mark, when you're buying these businesses?
It's so different for all of them. So like the liquor store and mini mart, I just knew the real estate was a good deal. I'm like, this building is a good deal even without the store. So I can figure out the store and stuff. If I don't like it, I'll sell the business, let someone else run it. If I do like it, we'll see how it works. So I looked at the building and then kind of looked at the business as a bonus. With the small laundromat, like I said, I barely looked at anything. I was excited. I'm like, oh, let's go buy it and see what happens. So that's probably not the way to do it. But really, what you should be looking at is kind of a profit multiplier. If it makes $20,000 a year, it's probably worth 4 times that as an actual business if you're selling the business. But then the real estate it's tricky trying to figure out the real estate too, what it's worth, usually based on income, etc. And then the other laundromat I rent. I'm a landlord, so I don't own the building. And I know it actually makes it like simpler and easier from a business standpoint in valuing it. And I took over that one, just luck of the draw of a landlord who kind of evicted the last tenant. And I took over the machines, the whole thing, and just signed up for a lease.
But you're looking to buy that building. Don't give me bullshit.
They're not selling, unfortunately. I wish, because the DMV is next to me and they are a pain. But it's a it's a big company that owns that building, that owns a ton of commercial stuff around town, and they don't sell stuff. So I'm not getting my hopes up. But yeah, with that, it's just a pure, okay, profit multiplier. Then what's your equipment worth? You know, when you're selling a business like that, if you decide to sell, sometimes you're selling the equipment on top of, you know, the business cost. So, but, you know, I was able to build, it's not a massive amount of money, but $150,000 business from nothing in about 6 months. And plus the equipment we got, and it keeps growing. So there's so many different things to look at with businesses. You know, when I got into that, you know, you have more cash flow versus, you know, real estate, your same investment, but there's a lot less value than what it's worth versus real estate too. So there's really a big trade-off there, where, you know, you can make $10,000 a month. The business might be worth $300,000. Whereas if a real estate deal did that, it's worth 1.5 million or something, or $1 million, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff to look at. And a lot of it's honestly just kind of each individual deal, what it has, if there's real estate or not, and writing out all the numbers and if it works for you or not.
The last question that I have before we go to the short answers is the NAR. I love the channel, your channel, when you were going through it, because most people were just making shit up, to be completely honest with you. I don't think they understood. And I was watching your channel, and I was trying to understand the ruling. And listen, we're recording this in July right now. In the next couple of weeks, this is going to take effect, and they still don't know what's going on. So can you just give us a breakdown of what the law, what it meant, the lawsuit, and what it looks like for you guys going forward?
Yeah, so it's just ridiculous what it is. Basically, NAR is the National Association of Realtors. And the first thing to understand that makes this so confusing is not everybody is a realtor. There are real estate agents, and realtors are kind of like a trade group, a union almost. And so some are part of that union, some are not. And the Department of Justice came along and said, well, we don't like commission structures, how it's set up. We don't like that buyers agents are paid commissions from sellers, just all kinds of things. Of course, I'm sure they have so much experience knowing about what's really going on. No sarcasm there at all. But they said, we want to change all this. And how they did that was, there are these lawsuits that came up, a lot of them backed by big national builders. And the DOJ got involved and said, okay, you guys can settle. We're going to approve these settlements. And in that settlement, we're basically going to try and change all the laws across the country. And so it's
who is damaged? The builders are saying the builders are the ones getting this money?
The sellers, right, sued NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and all these MLS systems.
Like a class action group of sellers sued NAR.
But builders are by far the biggest group in that class action suit. And they're saying they're damaged because they had to pay buyer's agents these commissions, pretty much.
But they signed up for a 6% fee, and who gives a shit where it went?
Right. And builders usually don't even pay that much, right? And that's the whole crazy thing, is everyone's like, oh, commissions are fixed at 6%.
It sounds like a pathetic cash grab.
Yes, it's the lawyers and the builders are taking all this money. And so, but the main point of this is the DOJ is trying to change two major things which will greatly impact buyers and sellers. And that is, they want every buyer to sign a buyer's agency agreement before they see houses for sale. So that means if you go to an open house, you've got to have a buyer's agent agreement signed with an agent before you can even do that.
Why?
Wow.
I've never done that. I don't know.
I have no idea. It's making it way harder and more complicated. And then there's a rumor, we haven't heard this yet.
So I don't have the right to just go buy a house myself without someone representing me?
Nope. They want to make it so you have to have someone representing you. And then there's a rumor, I haven't seen this from the DOJ.
What a crock of shit.
They're keeping their mouth shut. They don't want any dual agency either, which means you can't work with the listing agent. You've got to have your own buyer's agent too. So we don't know that for sure yet. That's just kind of speculation out there.
So what about like in multifamily, where they won't even let another realtor in the party, right? There's a listing realtor and then that's it, listing broker.
I don't know. And a lot of states won't allow dual agency.
It sounds really weak and pathetic.
Yeah. And then the other main thing that they want to change is MLS systems cannot list a commission for any buyer's agent anywhere. And they want to, not just MLS systems, Zillow.
Why do they give a shit about all this?
Because people are being taken advantage of by agents. Buyers is what they're claiming, because they have to pay a commission
But it's not going to change. It's not going to change, though.
No, nothing's going to change. It's just going to make more money for all the lawyers to write up all new contracts and change laws. And it's going to be more complicated for agents and create more issues for fraud and actual, sellers to be shady about paying commissions. It's just crazy.
And does this only affect if you're a realtor in that union?
Correct. But most agents are. And most MLS systems where houses are listed for sale are part of realtor associations too.
Yeah. So is there going to be like spin-offs where is this like where Zillow's
there already are?
Yeah.
They're already like MLS systems that are not associated with that. They're trying to come about to get around it. So yeah, it's just a giant mess. It makes no sense. It's just...
Here's my appeal to the millennials. Puke emoji.
Right. And so for agents, our MLS system now is saying, remember August 17th, you can no longer list a commission in the MLS for a buyer's agent. So what that buyer's agent has to do now is basically call up the listing agent or text them and say, hey, are you offering a buyer's agent? And then they can say, yes, we are, or no, we're not.
So we're not, but no, and now we can't sell it because they require a buyer's agent to come to the table.
Yeah, exactly. So you basically have to offer one still. Because, or the buyer ends up paying their agent directly, right? Where the buyer's coming out of pocket $15,000 to pay their agent.
This is so socialistic. They're penalizing the high performers. If you're a realtor that bangs out 6% commissions because you're adding value, you're hustling, and you're getting direct sales, right? They're penalizing you and cutting you in half.
Well, and one thing a lot of this is going to do is probably chase out a bunch of agents who don't know what they're doing. Most agents make almost nothing anyway. And so
I saw something on TV the other day that said like 80% of New York City realtors make less than $40,000 a year. Can that be true?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Because is it a side hustle for most of them? Is that the idea? And there's not any full timers?
Yeah. Try to sell a co-op in New York City. It is god awful right now to sell it because you have to get permission from everyone in the building. You have to show financials. If they don't like you,
everybody's a realtor when it's convenient. Then in New York City, no one's can do it full time because it's just not realistic, right?
It's really a hard gig to sell stuff in New York City.
It's really a hard gig everywhere because you see these national numbers of agents. I think it's like $60,000 a year the average agent makes. That's before they split with their broker and pay their office fees and desk fees and all that stuff. So they're making
all the running around and wasted time.
Oh yeah. So
let's make it harder on those guys.
Yeah. So honestly, it's probably going to get a lot of agents out of the business, which means less competition, which means probably higher prices because that's what happens in the real world. So
I don't know. I don't feel good about it, but
nobody really does in the industry. It's crazy.
Go lawyers, you scum sucks. All right, let's take a quick time out here from our sponsor.
Now, we have had a great run in multifamily, going from 0 units to over $250 million in assets. That's over 2,000 apartment deals that we've been able to purchase through our framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right.
Now, Jake and we created the Jake and Gino community back in 2015. We launched our first book, Build Our Profits. And since then, our students have closed over 60,000 units. That's over $4 billion in assets they've been able to close over the last 6 years.
And that's why this community has been so successful. We call it results-based education, and we pour back into the community everything that we've learned on our journey from 0 to 2,000 units and all our systems and scale that we use on our very own property management and investing companies.
Jake, I love that. It's not just education, it's implementation. So what I want you to do, click on that link down below, apply to work with our team, see how we can help you on your journey in multifamily.
Lawyers are scumbags, and we are back. I hope that gets recorded and put in because lawyers are scumbags. All right, so love what you're doing, ultimately. I'm just checking out my notes here. Any thought on throwing in a sports memorabilia in there? I could see that being like a fun one, right?
That's an interesting question. I do collect cards and stuff just personally on my own a little bit. I don't have much, but I actually started doing that recently because I had a bunch of 1980s baseball cards and went through them and realized none of them were valuable because every kid has 1980s baseball cards. But I was like, I should go through, there's a whole thing with getting them rated and, all that. And I went through and I actually bought a few of my favorite players.
You got the Griffey Jr. Upper Deck card?
Yeah, of course. Everybody has that card, right?
Yeah.
I do have the Michael Jordan.
It's been worth
Upper Deck
$100
card, though.
since 1989 and still continues to be worth $100, I bet.
Right. Yeah. No, I do have the Michael Jordan Upper Deck ones, which is actually worth a little bit, not much.
Yeah.
But I went through and bought some great, like Andre Dawson was one of my favorite players as a kid from the Cubs.
Yeah.
And Chauncey Billups, was a Colorado kid from CU.
What about Todd Helton?
He's cool. He actually has a ranch right up by us in northern Colorado here. So
he was 3 doors down from me, and he just moved.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, he just got into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So real good dude. But so I don't have a ton of that. But one thing too, we've talked about business and stuff is I've got to guard my time. I've got a lot going on. I've got 3 kids, my wife, the car thing.
I could just see the liquor store, baseball card shop, selling some helmets and stuff, and then a bar next to it. So when they get a little sauced up, they can go overspend at the place, right?
Well, I had a bar for a while. Too,
okay, here we go.
And it was awful. I hated it. So part of the problem
the management was like worse than apartment management, right?
Part of the big issue was I had the liquor store already, and I didn't realize until I bought the bar, I'm not allowed to own a bar and a liquor store in Colorado. I can have multiple liquor stores. I can have multiple bars, but I can't own a bar and a liquor store. So someone else had to technically own it and manage it. I don't know. Because they might be selling alcohol to each other and colluding somehow, I guess. So,
any barber shops?
No barber shops. No.
We've never really done anything with commercial. Well, Gino's done a little bit with commercial spaces, but I was always like, I love the idea of a barber shop. It's something that someone will always need, right? Regardless if a guy's got one hair on his head, he's going in to get cut every 2 weeks, right? So it's not a volume play. So we like that. So out of all the businesses that you've run, bars, etc., what's your favorite out of the mix?
My favorite is the laundromat, fun wise, like. Just enjoyment going there.
So you feel like a pirate when you walk out with the booty over your shoulder.
Kind of, yeah. And handling like actual cash and quarters is fun for me. And it's like a game. Like you open up the coin box and it's like, how much is in there this week? Like, is it better or worse? And it's like a surprise box. I'm like a kid with what do they call
those egg things that they do?
Yeah, you open it up like, what do I got today? So that's the most fun. The best business has been the liquor store and mini mart, monetarily wise.
Best, most profitable.
Yeah, and time wise for me, for sure. So, but those are tough to scale too because it was a perfect situation in a small town with apartments above it and everything. So I don't have much competition, but that's been the best monetarily, and fun as laundromats. And then, well, except for, real estate obviously has been the best for wealth building. Buying rental properties, larger rental properties has been by far the best for me. But business-wise, it's definitely the liquor store and mini mart.
All right, so I'm taking notes here from what I'm gathering. If Gino and I ever go into a retail space, we're going to get a barbershop because that's what we like. Is that okay? Getting a barbershop.
Do what you like. That's it, right? If you're passionate about it and that's what you like, that's the number one thing you want to look at.
Very
right?
passionate about old, blue hairs with one hair that we're cutting.
Okay.
Right? We're very passionate about that. So
then you get all the gossip, right?
Yeah, that sounds great. So, so we're getting a retail with 3 spots. We're gonna have a laundromat, a barbershop, and a liquor store.
Okay.
And the liquor store is going to have like somebody walking around with a tray that's going to be selling shots to the people that are doing the haircuts and the
just
laundry.
Don't give shots to the people doing the haircuts, just the customers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
you never know because here's the truth. When I'm playing cornhole and the first 2 or 3 Coors Lights, I seem to get a little bit better. I think I relax a little bit. So there may be something there. It's just we just don't want to go in late in the day.
Right.
So. Gino, it's true.
You are killing me, brother. Maybe can we have a bar in Tennessee with liquor stores? Can we do that?
I don't know the rules. I'm sure it's not as restrictive as Colorado, so probably so.
I would hope so.
So yeah. Anyway,
well, they're actually Colorado's actually gotten less restrictive with liquor laws. There are crazy laws. In fact, my town was dry until 1952 or something, but it used to be you can only have 1 liquor store or 1 bar. That was it. And then they've changed it in the last 20 years to slowly ease those. So that's like the one instance of them actually relaxing restrictions. So,
All right. So we're getting a little long here. Best way for folks to get a hold of you, the YouTube, etc.
Invest for more. So invest FOURMORE.com. And that all started from just investing in more than 4 rental properties because banks were always tricky with getting financing. That's YouTube's Invest for More. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's all Invest for More. And then my car channel, if you like the cars, is Mark's House of Cars. And same thing. So I'm always posting different videos and facts and cool stuff. So I can love to combine the cars and real estate. I can shoot videos while I'm driving to a laundromat. It works great.
All right, Gino, tell us the story of El Diablo.
So it's a Blue Steel Real Estate. He's out in 2003. He's like, I'm going to become a property manager. I don't got any money. I'm going to go live in an apartment complex and be a property manager and save some bucks. And all of a sudden, he's not making any money. And I think the corporate gig was not for him. He's like, I can't do corporate. I'm living the life. I love what I'm doing. 2010, he buys his first rental. He's doing the foreclosures and he buys his first rental from actually refinancing out the money out of his house and slowly but surely just doing 1 flip, 2 flips, 3 flips. And in the meanwhile, still having his passion for cars, building the rental portfolio, having the brokerage. And what I love about it more than anything else is I think this gets lost upon most entrepreneurs. Everyone is brainwashed into thinking about scaling. I'm writing a book called Happy Money, Happy Family, Happy Legacy. And from what I've heard over the last 45 minutes, Mark Ferguson is attracting a lot of happy money and he's doing things that are happy. Does it make sense to go to a laundromat and pull out quarters? And is that going to make him rich? No, but it's going to create a lot of happy money and it's going to create a lot of happy moments in his life. And he can share that with his family and he can shoot some videos on it and he enjoys it. Not everything has to be scaled to the max. Enjoy your investments, enjoy your life and have some passion from them. And when you do that, it'll be so much easier to enjoy life. Jake, what you got?
Well said, Gino. Gang, as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term, whether that's a liquor store, a laundromat, or a barbershop. Think of decades. I'm Jake. He's the G Daddy, and that is El Diablo. We'll see you next time.